Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Anna?
Yes.
Corey? Gary?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
And Amy? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. The open session of the June 22nd, 2023 governing meeting will now come to order. Laura, will you please call the roll?
Corey? Gary?
Here.
Carla?
Here.
Renee? Brianna?
Here.
Anna or Amy? And Anna?
Here.
Quorum.
All right. And it looks like we have our Science Olympiad students here to lead the Pledge of Allegiance. Can you guys please come forward? Let's face this way, guys, to the flag. And start whenever you guys are ready. Who's going to start? Go for it.
So if you have a seat, we'll be calling you back up in just a few minutes.
One of our board members, our Vice President, Corey Homer, was unable to be here tonight due to another commitment, but he has wanted to read a statement, and Brianna's going to read that statement now.
A citizen statement made by a board member at the May governing board meeting violated board policy. The board is reminded that Board Policy 2230 requires anyone addressing the board to conduct oneself with respect and civility toward others, to limit their comments to 2 minutes, and to observe the board president's decision on procedural matters regarding public participation not otherwise covered in board policy. Also, in accordance with guidance received from the Illinois Association of School Boards, a board member making a citizen statement should speak from the podium, not the board table, and should identify themselves and make clear that they are speaking on their own behalf and not on behalf of the board. Board members are also reminded that their oath of office has language about encouraging and respecting the free expression of opinion by fellow board members and abiding by majority decisions of the board while retaining the right to seek changes through ethical and constructive channels. These policies and procedures are in place to ensure that we can conduct constructive and efficient meetings and to foster collaborative decision-making in furtherance of the education of the district's students and the district's operations. In addition, we should hold ourselves to the same ROAR standards we expect from our students.
Thank you, Brianna. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Gary?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Renee? Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Anna?
Yes.
Corey? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Now we have the superintendent's report.
Thank you. So I'm thrilled that after trying for 3 months, we finally have our awesome middle school science Olympiad team with us. So they had a state competition in April, which they just killed it, which is awesome. And we tried to get the group in to the April meeting. There was a conflict, and so we said, well, we'll put them in the May meeting. And then there was, with the agenda the way it was, and retiring teachers and teachers of the year, and we're here in June, and we're thrilled to have you. So thank you for coming. So just a little bit of a background on the Social Science Olympiad program. The 2022-23 Science Olympiad team from Woodland School District 50 was comprised of 33 students in grades 6 through 8. In April, team members competed at the University of Illinois at the Illinois Science Olympiad State Tournament. In all, 15 varsity team members competed in 23 events, winning medals in 6 of them, including a gold medal in the event Green Generation. The varsity team overall finished an impressive 8th place in their group and 9th place overall in the state against 41 other teams. The 8 junior varsity team members competed in 5 trial events, winning 2 medals, including a 2nd place finish in the event of agricultural science. This competition marks the end of a very successful and competitive Science Olympiad season for our team. We are so proud of their hard work and dedication this year. Founded in 1984, Science Olympiad is the premier team STEM competition in the nation, providing standards-based challenges to 6,000 teams in more than 425 tournaments across all 50 states. Congratulations to each of you. To acknowledge your success, we have a certificate of congratulations for your participation and success at the University of Illinois. Do you want to call names? Should I call names? Go ahead. So when we call your name, would you please come forward to accept your certificate, and then just stand someplace because we'll take a group picture then. Is that okay? So, thank you. And I was trying to catch everybody on the way in. I know I missed some people, so there may be some names on my list that are not here. There may be some people who are here that are not on my list, but we will figure this out. So congratulations and thank you to Julia Dowling, Arslan Enyatullah. I didn't mess up that. Congratulations. Apinav Gandhi. Aisha Hussain. Rashi Mehta. Rashi here. Okay. Krishna Tejas from Pali. Rohan Nitin Rao. Sharon Victor Sam. Adav Sivasankar. Shane Wirma. Ethan Zhang. And Swayam Biswal. Is there anyone on the team that I missed? Come on up. Come on up.
Naham Cody. Naham Cody.
Nice to meet you. Congratulations to you. We have a certificate for Naham Cody. And you are?
Rushan Mehta.
Rushan Mehta. Congratulations and thank you. There you go. And we're, Brooke, you want to coordinate a photo with board members, or how should we?
Sure. Is anyone else speaking about this topic, or we include in? Because since it's such a big group, we need to go on.
Well, I'm wondering, if board members had any questions or comments for our students before we do pictures?
I do. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience with Science Olympiad?
I think I had him written too, so do you remember anything?
I'm sorry, can you reintroduce yourself? And
Coach Dyson and Coach McMahon, they gave me a chance at University at State, and my program came to got second place in that course.
That's gotta be.
So, thank you for that. And overall, I really need to thank Coach Dyson and Coach McMahon. Without them, none of this would have happened. First place.
I'm Julia Dowling, and I second that again. We couldn't do this without our coaches. And also, no matter what event you did, they always made sure you knew what you were doing, and if it was a new event for that year, they tried their best to tell you what you were doing.
So great job. Thank you.
We'll get, Anna, can we get a couple of signatures?
In the green, what was your name again?
Sorry about that.
No, right here, we got it. Oh, no, we have.
Oh, okay. And then you got yours too? You got yours?
It's Rushan.
Oh. Then I need to
Got
get another.
one here, and I need another.
Okay, let me go get the certificate.
But you need to be in the picture as
Yeah,
well.
you can take that with you for the picture.
You will be. I'll tell you what. You'll be different because you're going to have the certificate holder. Don't look like you're the captain.
Chris, where's the boxes from?
Where's the one?
The boxes.
That's a great question.
They often just fold it away. Parents, if you'd like to take a picture, you can go ahead and come out and take that. I was going to say, wait a minute.
I'm,
But I'm running around.
What's that?
Thank you for
I'm a little chilly. I'm a little chilly. No, it's not to that point. It's just my toes.
Oh, true, it is. That's true.
Oh, no, I'll go.
The one that we exchanged.
He's actually a sister.
Yeah, this is-
Yeah.
I have to bring this in and have somebody help me with this. When I signed in, the screensaver.
Do you have a?
Just let me put my password in.
They're on my, just as you walk in on that file cabinet. We're getting you one of the holders and then you go ahead.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started again. We're going to continue with our superintendent's report.
Thank you. So the second component of our superintendent's report is just an update on the strategic plan. And very happy to report that our strategic plan has been bound professionally and is ready for distribution. And I wanted to thank publicly, because I continue to do so behind the scenes, but I wanted to thank Brooke Hegstrom for her leadership and her design and layout of this document. So what we will do is we've got a number of copies that we'll have available, hard copies at each district school as well as here at the district office. We'll put it online in its final form. And are we able to do the thing where it turns the pages? So we've got that. And anyway, I wanted to give Brooke an opportunity to walk you through this publication, and that she could talk to you to make sure we captured all of the conversation, all of the goals, all the initiatives, and I asked Brooke to kind of walk everyone through this document. Brooke?
Okay, thank you so much. So we shared this document, a draft version of it, at a previous meeting, and thank you to everyone who had comments or suggestions or questions, and that has all been incorporated into the document you have in front of you. As you all know, the strategic planning process took several months, and it involved many different people, lots of different meetings, ultimately to get us to the plan that the previous board approved in March and will go into effect in July. A publication covering that amount of detail could possibly be hundreds of pages long, and so really this publication, we see that as the kind of big picture overview. And so behind this publication, there's many layers of supporting documents that include tasks and timelines and things that will help guide the administrators and the staff over the next 5 years. But this publication, it's kind of like our strategic plan elevator speech, as kind of how I like to think of it. So I'm just going to walk you through very briefly. It has obviously our mission and vision. There's an About Us section to kind of just set the context of who we are as a district. Then you'll see the message from the superintendent, and that explains the timeline and how the process was really centered on stakeholder voices. You'll also see our SMARTY goals and our equity lens, because that was a huge part of the goal-setting process. And then you'll get to the overview of the 4 main categories, which were operations, education and academics, student support, and finance. And those were identified by the board in your original goal-setting sessions. And so that kind of helped guide the committees as they worked to set those goals. So I do want to point out the other priorities section, and that's because our stakeholder committees, while they were working, our strategic plan facilitators, were very careful to guide them to 1 to 2 specific goals for each category. But there's many other like themes and ideas and priorities that kind of kept emerging and were really important to our participants. And so we captured those and other priorities. A lot of the things are reflected in some of the things already in progress or things that were already planned. So making sure that they were included in the other priorities still helps guide and inspire the work that is done to support these goals. Dr. Maychek just mentioned this, but in addition to this publication that we can pass out, there will also be electronic version that we will share through our communication tools online. And then the administrators and the administrative team are talking about ways to roll it out to our staff as the school year starts, ways to visually represent it in our buildings, and of course, just how to report out on the progress over the next 5 years. So there's definitely more to come. And while I'm here, I have the opportunity to also tell you two other quick things. So we've been talking about the new district website, and we've been talking about how it's coming soon. And so we're actually ready to switch over to the new website on Monday. Yay. Now, remember, we've talked about it as a soft launch, so there's not a ton of fanfare just yet. We're excited to make the switch, but and our amazing partner, Apogee, and our amazing partners in the tech department have really helped us get all the content over, but it might not all be in the right spot yet. So there are some plans to, over the next couple of weeks, really fine-tune that content, create new content that, for the back-to-school information that we need to share with parents. And so there might be some other like problem solving or kind of figuring out. So we're going to spend July working on that and then do more of a launch and fanfare and excitement in August. And then the other piece of that is the mobile app. And we demonstrated a few slides a few months ago just about some of the features we're excited about. Well, that is currently live in the App Store. You can download it today if you want to.
I already did.
So, yeah. So you just search Woodland D50 in the App Store or Google Play, and you can kind of start to explore. So if by chance you have the old WCCSD50 app, you can delete that one. It'll go away. But there's several features, like I mentioned, that we're excited about. But, again, not everything has been there. So same asterisk, pardon our dust. But it is neat to see and start to play with and get familiar with. So I say all that because on Monday when we switch over, there might be a little bit of disruption to our website. You might go there and it's down for a little bit, or you might go there and it looks completely different, and I don't want anyone to be surprised. But there's just a lot of exciting things coming. So thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work on this. This was a lot. There was a lot that went into the strategic plan and the website, and I am so impressed that you have had all this going on at the same time. So thank you for all your work. Anybody else?
Yes, what's the plan to roll out the strategic plan to the community?
Sure.
I know you said that it's going to be on the website, but what about, taxpayers, 70% of whom don't have children in the district?
Sure.
What's the plan to
So
ensure that they know?
Sure. We're going to do a couple of different things. And like, for example, every month after the board meeting, an email goes out with a summary from highlights from the meeting. So this will be the first chance people can click on the link where it flips a booklet style version of it online. We also partner every summer with the Village of Gurnee and have 3 pages in their Keeping Posted newsletter that goes to all Gurnee residents, so some not district residents. And our lead story this year is going to be the strategic plan. And then just some of our online promotions and some different things that we're planning to do that would just be part of our normal, like, here's what we want to tell people about, through our normal communication channels. And then there's also going to be the opportunity to continue talking about the plan as we share progress. And so not just the one time, hey, we adopted a plan, but it's going to be part of the conversation moving forward. So those are just some of the things.
Okay. Will they have the opportunity to request a hard copy if they want it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll make sure that's clear.
Oh,
it
good.
doesn't say it on here, so I'll have to include that on other things.
Okay, good.
Dr. Little, one of the components, and to Brooke's point, trying to reach people in different ways, however we can. So last summer, when I started as superintendent, we scheduled what I called our My Listening Tour, and Brooke and my assistant Ileana helped schedule a conversation in all 7 of our zip codes, whether somewhere in a park, somewhere in a community center, somewhere in a library. But I will do that again this summer. And I think rather than just saying, hey, I'm new and I'd like to talk to you, this summer I can say I'm not so new, and we're going to talk about our strategic plan and all the different things that we're doing to keep our students safe and feel like they belong in our schools. And I think it might be a bit of a different conversation. But I will certainly reach out to all areas of our community again this summer.
And take copies with you?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Bert.
All right, we'll move on to citizen statements. We have 2 people signed up. First, we have Kelly McBlain. And we just ask you to identify yourself and your relationship to the district, and please keep your comments to 2 minutes.
Hi, my name is Kelly McBlain, and I'm the mother of a recently promoted 8th grader, a rising 7th grader, and a rising 3rd grader. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you tonight. Last month, I stood here and spoke to you about concerns that I and a number of other community members had about the middle school and the culture that had developed there. I've come back today just to represent this group of concerned parents and make sure that we continue to push for positive changes at the middle school. I've had the opportunity over the last month to speak to a number of additional stakeholders. They continue to reiterate the concerns previously expressed about the lack of discipline, lack of communication and leadership, lack of support of the teachers, and a culture that doesn't foster a sense of belonging among the students. After looking at tonight's agenda, I changed my remarks because it does appear that steps are being taken to move in the right direction. While I'm not exactly sure what some of these agenda items might translate to, I'm hopeful that the concerns of the students, teachers, and parents are being heard and changes are going to be made. However, I just want to repeat one more time that we are still very concerned about this lack of communication, lack of support of the teachers, and the culture at the school in general. We hope that over the next few months we continue to see positive changes and also hear about the ways that the board and administration is going to measure whether or not they're actually working at the school. Hopefully, again, we're going to be able to reassure our middle school students that they're going to be safe starting the school year this fall and feel a difference in the environment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And next we have Steve Carlson.
I can't speak nearly that quickly. Hi, I bring greetings. I'm a grandparent, parent, many graduates that come through here. I bring greetings from your peers on the Warren Township High School Board. I was recently elected vice president of that board, and I'm on the outreach committee, and one of the responsibilities is I think we should know each other. There are opportunities and threats that we have in common. I think we need to have a network set up, not necessarily among the superintendents. I know you have one, but I mean among the board members. And this institution has a rich history. Michael Bond came from here. Joyce Mason came from here. State representatives, state senators listen to elected officials. As a former county board member, I know that. So I just wanted to introduce myself, make sure that we all know each other. I'm going to go to Gurney Grade and Milburn and that sort of thing, and I'm going to take Danny, our new superintendent, out to Rotary and Gurney Exchange Club, that sort of thing. So that's the mission. Second mission, in 18 years on the Lake County Board, I was on 20-some commissions and boards and committees. I know a little bit about boards. I don't know beans about a school board. So I'm here to listen and learn. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Carla?
Aye.
Renee? Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Hannah?
Yes.
Corey? Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Our next item on the agenda is approval of annual tentative budget. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that this involves Chris Bobak.
It does. I've got a little presentation.
I think we need a motion and a second before discussion.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Stretch it.
You're right.
Getting ready.
I move to approve the tentative budget for FY24. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Chris?
All right, it's that time again. Thank you for listening to the presentation on the tentative budget for fiscal year '24. On the board packet in May, you had a report that I gave you that highlighted some of the changes in revenues and expenditures. We'll go through this presentation fairly high level. After we vote to approve the tentative budget, we'll put a legal notice in the Daily Herald, something that's required, notifying the public when the budget hearing will be. In August, we will have a review. I'll get together with the Finance Committee, and we'll talk about it a little bit more in detail, and then we'll have the budget hearing and adoption in September. So without further ado, we go right into the revenues. And what we do is we take a look at what our fiscal year '23 budget is versus our fiscal year '24 budget, and we take a look at the differences. We don't do the actuals for fiscal year '23 because fiscal year '23 has not yet ended. That'll probably come in the August update. And what you can notice from the difference in revenues, overall you're looking at a change of $2,438,000. Remember, this is tentative. We don't have a lot of information on state grants just yet. We haven't even turned in claims and expenditure reports for the state grants because the fiscal year is not up. One of the things to note is where it's coming from and where it's going. You can see an addition of $2.6 million in the education fund. We're taking some out of transportation and IMRF. We're looking at their fund balances, and this happened through the levy process and how we would allocate the funds after the levy. We're going to bring those fund balances down just a little bit and add more to the education fund. And a lot where the money is coming from, where the source is from our local taxes. We all know that the inflation is high. CPI, for the first time last year, we approved a 5%, which was below the actual CPI because we hit the tax cap. There's another levy coming up this year. CPI was once again above the tax cap. This includes a levy at that tax cap. That can change, but we're anticipating what the revenues are going to be based on us levying to what the recommendation would be. We're also looking at a little dip in federal grant money is going to, I guess for lack of a better term, just dry up a little bit. A lot of money was given during the CARES Act and the American Rescue Plan. That's going to come to an end. Last year we got a few surprises in there. We got a couple of little grants. We got an influx of funds to some of our categoricals and some of the federal grants that we weren't necessarily expecting. I don't anticipate that's going to happen this year. So you can see the pie charts will tell you education fund, obviously the majority of the funds going to the education fund, and the majority come from our local sources.
Can I ask a question before you move forward?
Yes.
You were explaining the difference between transportation and IMRF was the way we're going to
Allocate,
portion.
Yeah, portion out of the levy. We're gonna have more money go into the education fund, and we're going to take a little bit less from transportation and a little less from IMRF and FICA. And the reason we're putting more into transportation is we've actually been getting more in the state categorical grants. They've been slowly increasing what we get in the transportation, which has been a nice surprise. And that's built up a little bit of fund balance, and we can take that fund balance down a little bit. And we've also built up some fund balance in IMRF and FICA. Obviously, the education fund is the fund where we have the most expenditures, so it's not a bad place to put the money.
And what about debt service? What's the difference there?
So debt service, remember it was in 2020 when we had, when we borrowed and we had the bonds that we issued. So the requirement on that was that for the first few years, we had to lower what our principal and interest payments were going to be before they started to rise again. So this is going to be an interesting year because for fiscal year '24, our debt payment is going to be lower, but we're going to be levying in the fall basically for fiscal year '25, and that's when they start to rise again. So they came down, nearly $1 million. They're going to start to go back up again when we talk about the levy.
Okay.
This is kind of a breakdown. You can see that the majority of the funds are local revenue. 94.6% of our local revenue is made up of our real estate tax. I say this every year. This is fairly typical, especially for districts in Lake County. State funds at $10 million. The majority of that's made up of evidence-based funding. I don't talk about how our evidence-based funding is divided up amongst us and another district, I will say, a charter school district. I'll do that a little bit later in the year when we get more into details, but that is the majority of the money, evidence-based funding and our transportation, which has been coming up. And you can see where the rest of the funds have come from with regards to state. And then federal. Federal is going to be going down a little bit year. I've noted in here that, yeah, there's going to be a funding decline. Some of our funds, the way in which they are allowable to be spent is through September of the following year. So there will be some residual funds, residual federal dollars from ARP that will carry into fiscal year 25, but not that much. And then we have the interfund transfers. If we take a look at our expenditures, pie chart kind of looks like the revenue chart where most of it comes from the education fund. Operations and maintenance is right behind along with transportation. The bottom is probably a little bit better representation. You can see where the salaries or where the money is going. The difference between last year and this year, there's going to be more monies going into our salaries and benefits. We have additional FTE that we hired for the staffing plan. Obviously, we have a collective bargaining agreement that we're following. So the difference there, and I should say that the benefits this year, there's the HMO and the PPO, and the PPO went up by over 10%. It's a significant increase. That's one you don't necessarily want to see in double digits. You usually average about 4% per year. But we also had a year where it was negative. So you take the good with the bad. Services, supplies, and equipment. You can see supplies and equipment are down. A lot of that is to do with our construction. So in our Fund 60, some of our capital projects that we're doing this year aren't going to cost as much as they did, or I should say next year aren't going to cost as much as they did this year. Debt service, once again, is down, and tuition went up marginally. Same thing here. These are more high level. I did also include in the report kind of the highlights, and that breaks it out a little bit more. Otherwise, I could probably sit here and talk for quite a long time. You can go ahead and just see where, salaries and benefits. We talk about the CBA. We talk about the additional staff. We talk about the insurance premiums. Purchase services. You look at your bus leases. You look at your food service. Food service went up by 8.6% this year. Our transportation is going to stay flat. We are going to have to go out for new bus leases next year, so we'll look out for that. Probably coming here pretty quickly. Capital projects, the middle school roof replacement, South Campus asphalt, the elementary school project. Those are the three big ones. Then we've got some smaller ones, and we haven't even, I'm going to say that this is a fairly comprehensive list, but not a totally comprehensive list. So there might be some more capital projects that will be coming that we'll have to look out for. We spoke about debt service a little bit, and then the other, you're looking at your special education tuition for CEDAL and your private placements, as well as some of the minor fees that we get for workshops and dues and things like that. Every year I put ESSER in here. I just want to give you an update. ESSER 1 funds completely spent. ESSER 2 are 78% spent. Now, after this board meeting tonight, after you approve the consent agenda, that 78% is going to go up. 100% are supposed to be spent by September of this year coming up. I promise you that will all be spent. And ESSER funds by September of next year. So it kind of gives you what was approved when we did this way back, say it's either 2 or 3 years ago, and where we're at right now. And it all leads to this slide right here that, apologies, this is where the glasses have to come out because I can't necessarily see that screen because, yeah. The number that I always tell everybody to look at is this little red number right here. Overall, the revenues we take in and the expenditures that go out the door. We're looking at a loss of $2.141 million. But if you look up in this area here, let's see, where's our expenditures? These are our capital projects. Those are the big things that go out. Those are the things that are supported through some of our bonds and through some of the funds that we have that we can transfer over and go ahead to help pay for the capital projects. Our operating budget is doing well. It's on the plus side. It's the capital projects that's going to take us negative. That's going to happen when you have big projects that happen last year. When you see the audit, when you see all of the financial reporting, it still says we'll have revenue recognition because it's not part of the operating funds. So not bad right now. We'll still definitely need some fine tuning. We'll get a lot more information in these next couple of months, and then we'll have an update in August. This slide does not say questions. There's more. But wait, what do we have? Our targets are 25%. If you go back and you take a look at this slide, you can see where our fund balances are. 47.9, 56. Here's transportation. It's up high, 112. IMRF is up at 88%. Overall, we're at 91.5, but the majority, well, I shouldn't say the majority, quite a bit of it is in the working cash fund. Those are the funds that we borrowed. Those are the funds that are going to carry us through for the next 15, 20 years with any of the projects that we have going on. So we are meeting those goals. Obviously we want to maintain a high education for students, or quality education for students. We want to utilize all of the grant money that we can. We love financial recognition. And one of the things that we've got this year is the strategic plan. When I was doing some of the budgeting, we were asking some of the buildings. Part of my actual strategic plan group was, what can we do to promote DEI, and they were asking for some projects and some thoughts that some of the buildings had, and some of the buildings had some good thoughts. We're looking at playground equipment that isn't necessarily sports or athletic related, or some gaming tables. We're looking at, in primary school, a library of books that every classroom has. That's instead of every classroom having different books, it's like a different culture each month. So they're going to start creating a library that they can each have, and they can each read to the kids on a monthly basis. So projects like that, not projects that are $10 million worth of projects, but it's a good start, especially after the strategic plan. So, any questions?
I just had a real quick question about the state funding. You talked about if we shifted between tiers that there would be a change. When do we know that?
August 10th,
Okay.
when we get our first check.
Okay.
So yeah, that comes in, and like I said, we were on the cusp. We were at 89%. And every year since I've been here, we've been trending upwards. So what, 81 to 84 to 86 to 80. We're at 89%. I can't imagine that trend's going to go backwards by any means. And what Ann is asking is crucial to the new tier funding that is part of evidence-based funding. Governor once again approved $350 million. 50 of it goes towards taxes and a reduction of taxes. $300 million goes to school districts. There are 4 tiers. We are currently Tier 2. Tier 2 says we have in between 67% and 90% of the funds that the evidence-based calculation says that we should have in order to be a school that operates at a optimum level based off of all of their guidance and all of their, they set staffing parameters and all of that good stuff. So we were at 89%. Tier 2 receives 49% of that $300 million. Tier 1 receives 50%. Tier 3, which we would be bumped into, receives 0.9%, and Tier 1 is 0.1%. So just imagine going from 49% to 0.9% and what that would do. So on an average year, we've been receiving something like an additional $160,000. August will be interesting. I hope not too sad.
All right. Thank you. There are no other questions? Anybody? Questions, comments? All right. So we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Renee? Yes. Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Anna?
Yes.
Corey? Gary?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We move on to the approval of the parent-student handbook for 2023-24.
I move to approve the parent-student handbook for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
Second.
Right. Is there any discussion? No?
Yes.
Amy, Hannah,
Yes.
Corey, Gary,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Renee. Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Next is approval of the elementary school principal. Can I get a motion to approve the employment of Jared Reardon, principal at Woodland Elementary School, beginning July 1st, 2023?
So moved.
Any discussion? All right, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Amy, Hannah,
Yes.
Corey, Gary,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Renee. Yes. Brianna.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Awesome, thank you. And I believe Mr. Reardon is here. Would you like to come up and, anything you'd like to say?
Good evening, Board. First, just want to thank you very much for approving my contract this evening. I couldn't be more thrilled to be joining the team. As soon as I met with the administrative team as well as other stakeholders from the building, I knew exactly where I wanted to be. I had a feeling beforehand, but that really solidified that for me. It was a wonderful experience getting to know more about people's thoughts with the building and very thoughtful questions. And so that's something that just meant a lot to me. And with my experience both teaching in Texas and in Illinois, and then the last 6 years administratively through kindergarten all the way up to 8th grade, it's something that has really prepared me well for this. And I couldn't be more excited to be joining the team, and I'm glad to be a Wildcat. So I know my audience left earlier today, but so thank you very much for approving my contract this evening.
Welcome.
Welcome to the district.
All right, our next item is approval of 3 assistant principals for Woodland Middle School. Can I get a motion to approve the employment of Lourdes Marrero, Robert Taturka, and Derek Williamson as assistant principals at Woodland Middle School beginning July 1st, 2023?
So moved.
Any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Hannah,
Yes.
Corey, Gary,
Yes.
Carla,
Aye.
Renee. Yes. Brianna,
Yes.
Amy. Motion carries 5-0.
They're all here.
Oh, they are.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to invite them up, or I could at least, I could
Of course.
recognize them.
Yes, please come on up.
So, to put you on the spot, welcome to middle school administration. Mr. Williamson, Mr. Taturka, Ms. Marrero, would you like to come up and introduce yourselves and say hello to the board? Before you start talking, I want to tell you how thrilled I am that all 3 of you are here. I am. It's going to be a wonderful year, and you're going to bring so much to the school, to our district, and to our community. And thank you for saying yes to our offer.
Yeah.
Hi. Hi, I'm Lourdes. I am very excited to be now part of the community of Woodland Middle School in the district. I am a mom who has come to the district to play against you. I love to say it because you killed us. Right? So it's been, it's an honor. My son, who's an 8th grader now, is super excited that I'm going to be assistant principal here. And I really just hope to, help the community, help, work with those issues that, have been mentioned here, and just work together and have a great year with the students, with the staff, and the administrative. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, having the last name Williamson, most of the time you usually go last, and everything that you said it already said. I, just like everyone else doing before me, I do want to thank the board. I do want to thank the district for allowing me to bring what I have to the district and allowing me to take the time to learn what I can do whatever I can to contribute to the growth in this district. So thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to all the wonderful things we've done.
Hello, my name is Bob Taturka, and I just once again want to thank you, like everyone else has, for this opportunity. I am just so excited, as kind of was said previously, just the feeling of walking into the interview process, the way that the team greeted me at every level, and the experience of the discussion, talking about what is important to Woodland, and then talking about what I might be able to contribute. I just appreciated that opportunity. And then when the offer was made, I was so grateful. And I am just so excited about starting next school year with this team and doing my best to make an impact. So thank you again.
Thank you and welcome. We're excited to have you guys. Anything else? Okay.
Well, I'm sure you guys have heard the challenges that you will be facing at the middle school. So we will have a lot of questions for you in the coming year. So good luck with everything. We wish you the best.
Our next item on the agenda is the approval of district facilities manager. Can I get a motion to approve the employment of Philip Churchill as facilities manager beginning July 1st, 2023?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Corey? Gary?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Renee?
Yes.
Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Anna?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Mr. Churchill is not here.
All right. Next, we have approval of 3 paraprofessionals at primary.
And just to clarify on the agenda, these are positions based on new students who've come to the district with IEPs that require this support. We don't have the individuals yet. That hopefully we'll have those candidates associated with these positions if the board approves them next month. But right now, I'm just asking the board to approve the positions.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Oh, sorry. A motion to, I'm sorry, it's written weird, so I'm trying to find the right way to word it. A motion to approve the addition of 3 paraprofessional positions at primary school for the 2023-24 school year as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Gary?
Yes.
Carla?
Aye.
Renee? Yes. Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Anna?
Yes.
Corey? Motion carries 5-0.
All right, thank you. We'll move on to reports and discussion items. Item A is a written report on Solution Tree Intervention Professional Development. So our Director of Educational Supports and Innovation, Risa Cohen, has provided a memo on the professional development for certified grade level teaching teams, building leadership, interventionists, and specialists. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, so first of all, the trainings I was able to attend were extremely well received all year long. Our presenter was very energetic and very knowledgeable, and we got a lot out of the trainings. Just as when we came to you last year with the original request, the price tag of $91,000 would be picked up through grant dollars. So.
Which grant?
EIS flow-through. Part of the IDEA grant.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you. We'll move on to item B, written report on the Woodland Middle School Success Center proposal. Dr. Thomas, Associate Superintendent of Teaching and Learning with Equity, has given us some information on the proposal of a middle school success center and counselor position, which will begin in the 2023-24 school year. Is there anything else we need to add there?
Well, certainly I would let Dr. Thomas or Dr. Kiefer put a little more context about the request.
Okay.
So this position is kind of twofold. So one of the portions of this is that he's going to talk to you about
grading, and that concept of retakes and redos your students' abilities to, again, they haven't learned it yet. How do we give them opportunities to go ahead and still learn that and demonstrate that they can learn it? So what we want to do is remove some of the management pieces of having teachers supervise that piece of students retaking or redoing things and creating, in essence, a testing center piece. We have a nicer name for it. We have something that we think is going to create a little bit better environment. But a high school testing center might be like an analogy for those of you familiar with that. But with that, we also have this need of really kind of working with students that are coming back to us, perhaps from a break due to a disciplinary action or due to a situation that occurred. How do we help them reintegrate back into our school? And so this position will also support that. So that's why you'll notice that the way that the job description is written, it's written much more towards that counselor position, as well as then that piece of overseeing the success center being the retakes and review areas. So it's kind of a quasi piece that will help to basically fill two needs.
I kind of like the idea of it. I do have some concerns about the budget. Like, where is that new position funding coming from?
Yeah, I can't really speak to that. Would be more local dollars, and that would be local dollars if we don't have it grant funded at this time.
Can we, I think it would be helpful to see the impact on the budget since it's not allocated. And then my other question is how will it be filled?
So we'll definitely start with exactly the way the position is listed, which would be someone with a counseling degree or counseling endorsement. From there, if that becomes too difficult, then we'll take a look at making adjustments off of the requirements of the position. Because we do want someone in that position.
So I guess more specifically, because it's listed as a bargaining unit position, will in-house staff have the bargaining unit staff have the opportunity to bid on it first and before it goes to the outside, or how does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. Just like any internal transfer request, it could be an internal transfer request. They just have to meet the requirements as we place them on. But yeah, that's exactly how that would go first.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Thompson.
Next, we have a written report on the District Dean of Student Culture proposal. Dr. Michek has provided us information on adding a District Dean of Student Culture as a pilot for the 2023-24 school year with the hopes of having it approved next month. Anything you wanted to?
Yes, so the job description is actually modeled on a job that exists at Evanston Township High School. And the idea kind of connected with the strategic plan and some of the concerns that have been shared the last couple of months by the community. The idea would be this is a non-evaluative position. It would be, to Dr. Little's question about the last position, and if you had the same questions, it would be very much the same responses. It would be a bargaining unit position. But this person would be responsible for trying to support a lot of the SEL initiatives that I anticipate us trying to put in place at all 4 of our schools. For example, one of the things that we've been researching has been like a reset room or a calming room at each of our buildings, and even doing the legwork to make phone calls, to go visit schools that have this space, to pull research that teachers and administration in the community can look at, to put something like this together. It takes time, as well as knowing who to contact and having a network, and I think someone in this position could assist that. For example, I think someone in this position could work with Dr. Walls and me, and work when we have our monthly data meetings with the principals, as we look at student discipline data, for example. This is someone who could work with the administration teams at each school to talk about non-punitive measures or maybe non-traditional discipline measures. I know one of the things at middle school towards the spring that we piloted for 8th grade was this idea of finding different locations for students who could earn lunch, for example, perhaps outside or perhaps in the gym with a couple of peers under supervision. I think there again, finding, working with whether it's tech or ONF to set up a room so that students could be able to maybe use technology, or set up a room where kids might be able to listen to music or watch a movie. There would be somebody who would kind of coordinate that. And I see this position, somebody kind of being able, it might look different at each school, but it would be somebody focused on the SEL components in the strategic plan that each school is trying to implement, and would just be another resource to help make those things happen.
Any questions or comments?
And you would have that position report directly to you?
Yes.
And what would be the advantage of that?
To me, it's because of the connection to the strategic plan that we would be able to identify what's happening, to what extent, how it's working. If this person needs resources, I'm certainly in a position to be able to get them to him or her quickly.
Okay. So it would be one position working throughout the district. And you said the model is based on Evanston High School?
I just wanted to make a comment just to highlight for the community that the part of the essential responsibilities of this position include supporting the development, implementation, and monitoring of student behavior and attendance, and also provides a variety of strategies of restorative and mindfulness practices for staff and administration at each school. And these are things that we've all talked about and, agreed about how important these things are to address, culture issues that we're having in our schools. And I think it's a great step. All right. If there are any more questions, we will move on to receipt of Freedom of Information Act requests.
So we had 4 requests made. The first one from Amber Hollister from Genesis 1 on 427 due 525, filled 525. It's a commercial FOIA requesting the Woodland for all contractual documents, including current copier lease agreements, service contracts, and purchases of copier equipment that are currently in use at the district. The second one is from Matthew McNeil from IBEW 150, received May 11th. Due on the 24th, filled on the 24th. It says he's looking for a certificate of insurance for all contractors performing on the lighting project awarded to Dominion Lighting, and he wanted also any sign-in sheets that said contractor or subcontractor employees sign from April 17th through 5/10. Third request is from Heather Rand, received 525. Response was due on the 8th. It was filled on the 8th. This one was actually revised from its original form. The updated request was for all invoices paid to board attorneys for all legal fees between January 1st, 2021 and April 30th, 2022, excluding any that pertain to student matters. And the fourth and final is from Bethany Gordon from Quadient, requested 6/8, due 6/15. It was actually filled on 6/8. Bethany was looking for a copy of the postage equipment lease for the mailing equipment used at Woodland School District 50.
Thank you. Are there any questions about the FOIA requests? All right. Thank you. We'll move on to board improvement and operations. Announcements and committee reports. Does anybody have a committee report to share?
I have 2. Just prior to tonight's meeting, the Woodland Education Foundation had a meeting. It looks like we'll be able to revive it and move forward. We have 2 people who are willing to step up and be president and vice president. We being the group, need to find 2 more people, one to serve as treasurer, one as secretary. And then we can work with the previous or the current board members to kind of hand over hand over the foundation and get started on planning things. The other one is PTA. They had their last event on June 9th. It was popsicles and spiritware, and now they're on break for the summer, and starting July 1, the new president will step into her role.
And that's Stephanie Ingram.
Yes.
I missed the spiritware again. All right, thank you for that. I just have a question about the foundation. Didn't we discuss once before that there was some funds remaining in the foundation?
Yes.
Okay, so that's great. That'll mean more dollars for our schools.
Yeah.
Awesome. Anybody else have a committee report to share? We did not have policy committee meeting. I apologize. I have been out of town and it just was not possible to make it happen that quickly.
Can we make sure all the committee dates and times are in the, sent by email? So we know when committees are meeting?
Are they in the weekly?
Well, when I know about them, I don't, I've not been involved in the, scheduling the finance committee meetings, for example, but the policy committee meetings are in the weekly when those are occurring. But I know Laura does send information out via email because she sends the policies that we're going to discuss along with like the Zoom link. And so.
Have you established a date and time for the committee or for the policy meeting and for the finance committee meeting?
Finance committee typically ran into, we tried setting a standard date that happened once, and then it was couldn't make it. So we usually try to plan in advance 3 or 4 weeks and just pick a date where everybody actually is available. Once that happens, I can actually send out a meeting, or I can include you as part of the dates available.
Yeah, I think all the board members should be included, since we have
our guidance from IASB about this after the May meeting when we assigned committee positions was that it is best practice to not have board members drop into committee meetings at random, and so that is the way we'll be doing it. I mean, the committees have been assigned, and that's how we'll be conducting the meetings with just the members.
I'm planning to drop in. The board, all board committees should be published. They should be publicly published. Any member of the community can drop into a board committee. They're all published meetings.
Okay, I mean, you're welcome to attend, but I'm just saying, as far as doing committee work, that's been, we actually asked ISB for guidance on this, and this was their advice.
Did not do that as a board group. So I think before we would accept that as a board, the board would need to have that discussion with IASB. And then the whole board would have to decide on that.
We actually do have policy that says that the board president may attend board committee meetings at their discretion. So that's, to me, says that that's how we handle it, and that is how we will be doing it. The board meetings are conducted the committee meetings are conducted by Zoom, and so we will only be sending the link to those meetings to the board members who are on those committees.
You don't make that decision, that's a board decision that the board would have to vote on. And then also, as I stated previously, any board committee is open to the public to attend. So technically, if you're meeting by Zoom, you could be precluding the citizens from attending the meeting.
That is not not the advice that we received from
Then
IASB.
I think we need to call IASB up and having a full conversation with the board so the whole board understands, because you don't make that decision by yourself.
Okay, well, I will not be doing that, so if you'd like to, you're welcome to.
Okay, I will do that.
We're going to move on to status requested future board items. Brianna had asked us to add to the agenda, adding a student ambassador to the board. And I actually just had a question for you, Dr. Maychek, about the procedure and how you would like for us to do this. I know you said that you would like to receive some direction from the board as far as, having administration implement having a student on the board, or a student advisory member of the board. So then would that be, should we add it as maybe a report for the next board meeting and then action the following board meeting? Okay. And I apologize, Brianna had sent me a couple of documents that she had gathered about how this would work, and I will definitely include those for the report for next time. But would you like to Brianna's been to some trainings. She's all prepared. We're both very fired up about this.
So let me open up. So I had attended a session at the last joint annual conference, and it was actually a high school district where they had 2 high schools, and they talked about how they implemented having a student ambassador, one from each of the high schools on the board, and from there grew the Student Advisory Council, which was kind of led by the superintendent, and the Student Advisory Council guided the student ambassadors to what they would report to the board. It was made very clear that there is a policy in existence that allows this. It was also very clear that they said the students do not have a vote. We can ask them, if you had a vote, what would you vote? But it really is getting the voices of the students. And I would hope that this wouldn't happen in our district, but the students brought to the board an issue of student-to-student sexual harassment that nobody in the administration or above knew about. So it really was the students letting the adults know, hey, we have a problem and we want to help fix it. And I asked specifically at the session, I said, we're a K-8 district. Would adults, students that are ambassadors, do you think this could be implemented in K-8? And everyone said yes. And then at a different training the next day, I actually connected with a board member in a K-8 district who has this already going. So I have one of the documents was contacts, and that woman is one of the contacts. So at a minimum, I would hope that we could approve to investigate with those districts to see if it's something we want to implement here.
So you said we do have a contact for somebody at a K-8
Yes.
district who's done this. Okay.
Yeah.
Because also all of the places I've heard of that have done this have been high school districts, but I think it's a great thing for, our strategic plan has a lot of language about student choice and voice, and this is just directly in line with that, and I think would be a really good thing for, do you see it as being like 8th grade students, or I guess that's what we would find out from talking to?
If it were up to me, I would have a 7th grader and an 8th grader on the board, so that every year there would be an 8th grade mentor for the 7th grade that would be new. And on the Student Advisory Council, if it expanded to that, then we could include 6th graders as well. I had not, I haven't reached out to the contacts. I don't know if they've extended it to younger grades, but I think starting at middle school would be the best place for Woodland to start.
Okay. All right, and you have those documents that Brianna sent, right? Yeah, okay, so we can have everything we need to at least explore this and have a...
You'll have a report in July, sure.
Awesome, thank you so much.
Can I just say that I hope as a board we are modeling appropriate behavior if we do move in this direction and our meetings become a bit more cohesive if we're bringing students into this space?
Yeah, that would be part of I would hope, timeline of implementation.
Thank you. Any other discussion about that topic? Next,
Not about that topic, no.
next is Gurney Days participation. Which day is it that we have? Is it the 12th or the 13th? It's our
Saturday, the 12th, is our volunteer, all the Gurney districts volunteer in the food tent. So our time is from noon until 3 p.m. And then Sunday is the parade, and Elizabeth Sanchez-Sapezi, always thank you for volunteering to be the creative genius behind our float. And it's the 50th anniversary, so it went from 50th anniversary to Nifty 50 to now it's celebrating the 70s because it's 50 years ago. So Elizabeth has been kicking around some great ideas as a theme, and we can let the board know what that is. But the volunteer time for the food tent is on Saturday at noon, the 12th.
Okay, I will be there.
Great.
And then I assume that we will know about, there will be opportunities to help with the float again this year, right? Yes, awesome, looking forward to it. I couldn't come last year, and I was very much looking forward to it. I would love to do that. We'll move next to status of correspondence.
Before we move off of board improvements,
Oh, sure.
I did have a couple of concerns. One is apparently there was some contact with IASB that wasn't included for all board members to participate in. I think we need to work, if we are looking to build trust on this board, we need to work to build transparency on the board, and no one makes a decision unless the full board makes the decision. So I think we need to work on full transparency moving forward. And then also, if a statement is ever read, if it's not the president or vice president, it should be read by the secretary, which is standard protocol for boards. That's why we have a board secretary. So I just wanted to make that clear. And then also, I did ask for a investigation into the allegations made against board member Chang Yin, and I didn't see anything in the packet about that investigation, so I'm just wondering about the status of that investigation.
Does the board want me to investigate something? I mean, it was a individual request. I don't know what I'm investigating.
Yeah, the board, I mean, there has been no official request to the administration.
I did ask the board to investigate. So I think the board should decide on how to proceed with that.
Okay, well, that's not going to be happening tonight. We will consider that for a future agenda.
Then I think in the meantime, I'd like to request all incoming and outgoing emails between the previous administration and board member Chang Yin from board and personal email.
You can make that a FOIA request for that.
Or I can make it as a board request too.
Feel free.
Okay.
The correspondence to the board and direction on responses is next on the agenda. Did anybody have any questions about those responses that were drafted? Okay. We will move on. Laura, do we have any more citizen statements at this time? No. Okay. Thank you. Is there any need to return to closed session? Okay. Seeing none, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Is there, I don't know if we need discussion, but is there any discussion? Can we have a roll call vote, please?
Carla?
Aye.
Renee? Brianna?
Yes.
Amy? Anna?
Yes.
Corey? Gary?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0.
Meeting adjourned. Even see my yearbook. This is awesome.
I don't know if this needs to happen in open or closed, but when her son made those gun motions, is that a closed session? And we've not discussed that.
Yes, the Liberty Bell I'm excited to see where